Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, June 27th. So you know what that means. That means it's time for another episode of Honest Hour. Hope everyone's day was great, that they're doing something positive, that they're doing something to be better than they were yesterday. And we got a really special guest here tonight. Her name's Edna Aboague. She is a woman of many skills and talents. She, lost my train of thought. Sorry. She is a nurse, has many degrees, spoken word poet, bottle, a lot of layers to her. So, looking forward to having this conversation. She should be out in here in any minute. But I hope everyone's enjoying their Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Hopefully you have something planned very good for the weekend. What up, Ralph? So we're gonna bring Edna in. No. There we go. Yeah, we're gonna see how we can get this on the road. What up?
Hello,
How
hello.
are you?
I'm tired. How are you, babe?
I'm all right. I'm maintaining. I'm alive. Just trying to take it one day at a time.
Amen. So that's all you can do. That's
That,
all I'm praying for.
that's it. That's it. Well, even though you're tired, I appreciate you coming in to have a conversation with me.
Oh yeah. We do it for the do it for the do it for people.
Yeah,
Love it.
we try. We try. Taking it one day at a time, right?
That's it. Step by step.
Oh, oh, your sound's a little choppy.
Um,
And
Here's my people are on here. Hey Brandon. Hey Ralph.
everyone's ready.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna jump right into it. Right
Okay.
into it. So I've known you for a few years now,
Mm-hmm.
but when I look on your page, it says you're originally from the Bronx.
Yes, sir.
Oh man. So what was your experience like in the time you were in the Bronx?
Well, it was a very young experience. I was born in the Bronx Hospital. Born on my birthday, so little works about. But I mean, parents kept us safe inside the street. I lived in Harlem for a good amount of time, and I went to school. Where my mother went, I went. So that was kind of like how my city experience was. It wasn't too much of me like being out late at night or nothing crazy
Right.
about like teenage years, but it was a fun time. City as a kid back then was pretty dope.
And then how old were you when you moved away from there?
Probably about like 12, 13. Moved.
For some reason, your sound is still really choppy.
I wonder if it's because I'm in the basement.
Hide, hiding out.
Is it better now?
It's still like in and out a little bit.
I don't know.
Should should you should I try and invite you back in and see if that's a little better? Oh,
Hello?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah. Better? The same?
We're gonna keep it working. We're trying. Like you go for a minute, you'll be sound real good, and it's like no, not anymore.
It's like my cue.
So from that age, did you when you left around 12, did you move to Newburgh?
No, it's a new like 2017.
Oh wow. So
Yeah.
then where did you what where were your adventures at between that time?
They were like by Beacon, New York, on the other side of the river.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit of a culture shock from the Bronx to Beacon.
Oh yeah, I'm waking up to where what that's what I was used to. For real.
So it was a whole nother world for you.
Hell yeah. Like what is this? People that don't look like me? Like this is wild.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because Beacon's definitely different.
For sure. Different is a very cute word for it.
Not bad different though, but just different.
hmm
So
Different from
so growing up, what were some of your hobbies?
what? What hobbies? The biggest thing was art. A lot of people don't know that I'm an artist.
Okay.
Um, so a lot of sketching, painting. That were like I was a rapper,
Oh, oh really?
self-proclaimed. I never really went anywhere with it as a rapper, but I did. I did write a lot when I was younger too.
Wow. Wow.
Then I
So,
was
so
sports
so you always were and had your hand in different things.
all the time, all the time. My mom called me a busybody.
But she knew you were destined for greatness.
Some way
You know,
had it.
because you do many things,
Mhm.
which is good. But I want to know where did the nursing come in? When did you realize that you wanted to be a nurse or be in
Well,
that field even?
yeah. Yeah, fun fact, I did not always want to be a nurse. Nursing was actually not on my radar until I got accepted into a nursing program.
Okay.
I knew healthcare of some sort from young. My original dream, I wanted to be a dentist.
Okay.
And then somewhere around, somebody brought some light into my life, and I was like, I don't think dentistry is where my true calling is, but I knew I wanted to help people in some way. So med school versus like PA school. Wasn't getting into school. Got to eight all the schools.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people just think I got into shit. Like, oh yeah, she just got it. Ah, you a lot of denial getting into schools and cohorts because the classes are small,
Right.
so they only take like 50 students every year, and then you have over 2,000 applicants.
Whew.
They want them. So I got quite a bit. Did home care and just kind of worked my way from the bottom. Applied for a nursing program. Looked at like the role of what an NP is, and I was like, hey, I think this is the closest I'm gonna get to like what my goal is.
Right.
And then there you have it. I got into a nursing program, flew through that, flew through the bachelor, working NP now.
Wow. Wow. So yeah. So it definitely was a work in progress
For sure, for sure.
to
It's
figure
definitely
out like
like a stepping stone to where. But I enjoy the profession. I do.
yeah. In some ways, it's very rewarding.
Mhm.
You know, it's very rewarding. So I don't know if you remember the first time I can remember having a conversation with you was at the last Newburgh Illuminati that they let us have.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, We were friends online. We had spoken a little bit on some statuses, but never had a conversation. And I remember telling you how inspirational you are in everything that you do, and how you carry yourself, and and just really about the the aura that you bring. And it
I think
seemed like you're welcome. Seems like every time for that space and time you had degree after degree after degree. I have to know, how many degrees do you have?
biology, first degree,
Yeah.
associating, nurse,
Oh, your sound cut out again. You got what? How many?
four when I'm working on.
Oh, jeez, four. Jesus. And
Yep.
man, oh man, and you know what? Kudos to you, because getting going to school for that long is tough, and
Hell,
getting those and expensive.
hell yeah.
Especially when you're talking about master's degrees and all that, like it's really difficult to really work and do all that at the same time and still have time to have a life.
Right. True. It's
You know,
the top.
like, so right now, what kind of nurse, like, are you? Like, are you a registered nurse, or like a nurse practitioner? Like, where do you
So right
fall in the field?
now, I'm a registered that's surgical IC.
Okay, is that the highest level that you can go?
As an RN, no. There's so many different places you can go, at least in the hospital setting.
Right.
Um, Nurse, the highest you can go in that degree, aspect, like a doctorate. You have a DNP, so you have your doctorate as a nurse practitioner. Right now,
Okay.
I'm going for nurse and practitioner.
Oh, okay. And when you get each degree, does that mean that you can do more, like, with each patient, like, or is it just is it just a dollar amount that they put on it for each degree that you have?
No, so I'm definitely switching greatly from what I do now. Nurses carry out doctors, practitioners, or physicians' order. Now I'm switching to become the provider. I'm going to be the one that's taking, creating the care for the patient, diagnosing the prescribing something, helping them with plans to do lifestyle changes. Now that all falls on me. So it's a totally different like degree field. Whereas with nursing, you work along with the doctor, and whatever orders they put out, you should be knowledgeable enough to know also, does this benefit the patient? Because you're spending all the time with the patient. Whereas the
Right.
usually they'll say doctors, they kind of see their patients and leaves, but nurse practitioners are different because we have bedside manner. We know how to interact with people. We've been through people in their hardest times, in their moments. So that's where we kind of fall in that category. So I'm switching roles. I'm actually switching kind of like careers at this point.
Wow. Wow. So you really just, it seems like you just want to be more hands on with helping your patients, because
Absolutely.
because where you are now, it's limited to what you can do, and you feel like you've hit the ceiling with it.
Pretty
So
much. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
so now when one door kind of closes, you've delegated your way to open up another door.
Hmm.
So that's really great to hear. And when you say your own practice, do you plan on just working in a hospital or a doctor setting, or you want your name on that building?
I know in the future, definitely, God has put it in my heart to not only practice within the United States, but hopefully back home in Africa as well. Right
Okay.
now, everything is a process. So I need to take time and I need to learn and I need to be precepted appropriately so I can fill out those roles the way that I need to serve the community is what I want to do.
Right.
I want to work within the community that I grew up in the Bronx. That's where I've been doing my clinicals at. Get my knowledge, get my time in, maybe go back for business, figure out how to run an establishment. Because at the end of the day, healthcare does happen to be a business. I say come sometimes, unfortunately, because that's what people look at as the dollar. But I hope to run a non for profit to help people get that care, if they don't have insurance or, if they're undocumented or whatever the case may be. Because at the end of the day, it's just God's work. We're vessels in this.
Absolutely. One thing that I'm curious about, and I don't know how you could really answer this, but it's always something. What are some of the challenges working in a doctor with a doctor's office that you face with these insurance companies? Like, as a person who goes to the doctor, right? You go to the insurance. It's everything's got to go through the insurance. Fine, they got to approve it. Cool, but then they never want to cover nothing. So, like, let's say a surgery or a medication's needed for a patient, and the insurance won't cover it, and they don't have the money. What are some of the obstacles that you go through with that, and what are some of the things you could do to kind of maybe help steer the patient in another direction to get what they need to get treatment?
So that's a very good question because I feel like there's kind of an ignorance in the community of how to go about that. Because again, that's not something we're taught in the school systems, unfortunately. That certain jobs will give you certain insurances, which will kind of ensure better care, but then they don't tell you the flip side. You may need to go to places to receive care. So what I've been seeing, my preceptor's been teaching me, in the event prescribing certain medications, we will go for whatever works with our patient's insurance. If not, then we may need to direct them to a place or provider that will work and accept their insurance. Sometimes it's kind of a search, but then we also take into consideration socioeconomic status. Do they have the means to get to these places? How old are they? Do they have somebody to help them? And it's a very big balancing act. Sometimes we're not always successful, but we do try to find, well, those that want to do try to find ways around in the system to ensure that people get some type of care that they can afford.
Okay, okay, so, yeah, because a lot of times, you go to these doctors' offices and you're going here, you're going there, you're going there. Like, I was having some like heart troubles before,
Mm-hmm.
or I thought I was. Like, I was having bad anxiety. I live here.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Middletown, so I would go to. Excuse me. I tried to. I have a Garnet Health Doctor office. There's one in Goshen. I was seeing them, and I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
see them and keep it all in house. They told me they couldn't see me till like February, and it was November. And I'm
Okay.
like, they're like, well, we only have one cardiologist. I'm like, oh boy. I was just like, the specialist doctors, those are the hardest ones to see. So I ended up and Trip, don't you do it. Don't you do it.
You know,
Don't, ah, ah,
he's gonna do it.
ah,
Once he enters the
ah.
chat. Hey, son. This
I,
looks. Hey, Harry.
I
You already.
seen it. I seen it, and I knew it. He comes in here just to do it.
Yep, he gonna leave after this. I'm sure. Bye, Trippy.
Yep, he's like, I got him out. Trip out.
Out for sure.
So
That is.
that's great to hear with your nursing, and I wish you all the success in that, because that's a beautiful thing to hear how dedicated you are to it, because you're dedicated to some other stuff too,
That is correct.
and we sliding right into that poetry. We
Mm-hmm.
sliding right into it. You you're a very powerful poet, and he definitely did leave too. Just want to
Yeah.
say that. you
I
know
already knew it.
you already knew what it was. So, and since you're a spoken word poet, and
Correct.
For those who don't know, what's the difference between a spoken word poet and just a poet?
You I feel like this society generation always loves to put labels on things. I feel like there should be no definitive difference. There is a style, though, of poetry that spoken word poets tend to follow. A lot of them do tend to rehearse their poems, so you get a real feel of how they convey their anger or their sadness or their joy about a certain topic. Um, whereas people may not be as vocal or expressive or animated, but that doesn't take away from them being a poet. In my opinion, I feel like it can be considered more of a style or a way to do poetry. But I personally don't see any difference between. I don't really see a difference between poets and rappers, to be completely honest with you. You know, if you take away all the, I remember last year Mavor did what we call song-along, and we
Oh,
took lyrics of a song.
I was there taking them pictures. It was beautiful, but explain to the crowd.
We we took the back everything away from the song and just read off the lyrics. So you're reading the lyrics with no context of what it should sound like to music. And some songs ended up sounding like sad, like love stories and tales of heartbreak or tales of getting in all over people's heads. And that's why I don't really see too much of a difference. It's just another way to label or to kind of like categorize people, which is cool. That's what we do as human beings. Sometimes we like things to sit in boxes.
Okay, I mean that's a great outlook on it, because to some people there is a difference. To me, I've always liked poetry, even like at a young age. I used to write it myself. People have
Oh
tried
yeah.
to get me, yeah, when I was younger. That's how, like, if I got sad or depressed or upset or angry, I wrote it down, and like people tell me all the time I need to go back to that, but it's just like some. But now, like when I hear people do it, like when I hear you or I hear Nisi do it, I'd be like, man, if I wrote some poetry now, it ain't gonna sound a third. Oh, that's giving myself too much credit. A tenth of what you
Oh
can do when you
Lord.
put something on that paper, because, like, like people like, they take pride in what they put out. You ain't gonna put nothing out that ain't gonna be top notch. You know what I mean? So that's just my theory on it. But I want to know what gravitated you towards it. Like when did you take an interest in poetry?
Younger, I used to write raps, and the raps were about things that they could have. Some of them were personal, and then some of them were about like things that I wanted to see or change in the community. I stopped writing for a little bit and then got back into it. It's been like on and off for a while, but the biggest reason for me getting back into it, at least within like the past 2 years, is another ways of like expression, to just kind of get feelings off my chest, and to make it rhyme or not rhyme. Sometimes they rhyme, sometimes they don't, but it's just a matter of me saying like little blurbs that come across my head, and I'm like, yo, that sounds dope. I have to write that down somewhere. I'll put it in my phone. Sometimes I'll start one, come back to it days, weeks later. It's just something to just kind of express how I feel. And it's fun. It's nice. And people want to hear it too, which is pretty dope.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what was this a natural thing? Like when you started writing, like I know when I started writing poetry, it kind of like took on a life of its own. Like I kind of just, whatever I felt in that moment came on the paper, and it, some of it sounded good, some of it sounded like it shouldn't have went together. So for you, you're very detailed in your poetry. Was that something that was natural, or something where you kind of like it took time to craft, in a sense?
So I'm definitely big into like wordplay, and now I guess performing my poetry kind of for an audience. I like to make people think, um, and this kind of happened over time. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized more so happening the more that I started teaching back to people whatever I ordered to say something eye catching or something think like, so wait, what did she say? Or, oh, she put all that together. Crazy. I've always been
Mhm.
very cool with like play even when I write papers. So I think it's something natural, and it does take time. It takes time to really convey certain, like if somebody gives me a theme, I might have to take time to figure that out. But if it's just off
Yeah,
my chest, I'm just writing. I'm just writing it.
you're just writing and you're just looking for it, just trying
Mm-hmm.
kind of just gravitating through it till you find that final piece or that final thing you're looking for.
For sure.
So what is when you're writing? What's the toughest part? Like if you have a topic or not. Like what's the hardest part when you're actually writing? If if you're just going through motions in a sense.
I think the toughest part kind of knowing where a piece should end.
Hmm.
More of like, like, is it only supposed to be like a couple of stanzas? Is this supposed to tell a story? Is this supposed to just be a blurb of feelings and then you get off the stage or get off the paper? It's kind of like, how far am I trying to take this? Where do I want this to go? Sometimes it's
Right.
very apparent. Sometimes it's like, bro, you're just writing it right. I don't know what we're going to say next, or I don't know where this should cap off.
So sometimes you're saying the length, like sometimes you just kind of get lost in the words, and
Hmm.
like let's say you're writing something for a specific reason, and you like, man, this is long. Do you ever go back and refine it? Like you go back and say, okay, it's long. Let me take some parts out. Or instead of using three sentences here, you might have found a word, you might have found a way to say it better in a sentence and a half. Like you go back and kind of like not proofread, but yeah, refine it. Yeah, and maybe kind of just make changes.
Yeah, sometimes I try not to do that too often because I feel like what I say with intent, and there's a reason that certain lines are supposed to be places. Because I feel like when I reread it, now I'm being too self-critical, and now I'm trying to make this work into what? Like, who am I trying to impress at that point? So it's more so kind of just like, all right, where are we leaving this at? But if it is like a theme, like take for example, we did poetry after dark, and I knew I was doing poems with Raya, who I had done poetry with before, but I've never performed with her. And I performed with Nisi before. Nisi will write me up and down a piece of paper, okay? So I was like, not in the sense of me competing with her or competing with Raya. It's like, how do I capture an audience's attention in what I feel may be a short amount of time? Or am I trying to fill the space of 10 minutes? Is me talking in this way, this fashion, will it take up a 10-minute slot? Will it come out in 2 minutes because I'm saying it fast? Well, I'm saying it slow. So that can be kind of some factors that may trip me up every now and again. But then I say I'm in my own head and I just finish it. Whatever it is, it's perfect. Let me just leave it alone.
you know, I was upset that I missed poetry after dark. Uh,
Uh,
my finances weren't real good
mm-hmm.
at that time, and I gotta say that when it comes to, I don't think it's competition, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you look at the three leaders, now I know Nishi very personally. We go back to elementary school. I'm getting to know you very well. I believe we're building a bond. I don't know Raya. I've seen her a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a hi bye thing. I've never had a conversation with her. I've never heard her poetry, but
Oh,
I've heard it's next level. And when
she,
I had when I had Nisi on the show, it was right before that event,
okay.
and we were talking about it, and she said the same thing. She goes, "Raya, it's like I feel like," she said, she feel, and then she said the same thing about you. She said, "In Edna, I feel like I have to step up my game," and it's not competition. It's more or less of of just making sure that, like, you know, like Lil Wayne said on a song, like he said on Drink Champs. Nori asked him, he goes, "Now, you know, they say Eminem bodies everyone. He didn't do that to you." He goes, "You're not gonna do me like that. You ain't gonna be up here and I'm down here. It's like we're gonna be right here and we're gonna make a nice song." And I think that's what it is with in this situation. It's not so much competition, but you want to make sure that the three of you ladies are here.
Mm-hmm.
Three of you ladies are here. You didn't want, you know, maybe a little off is okay, but you didn't want to be like this. You know, you wanted to make sure that you were heard too. However, it's also about performing in the way you perform. So
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard you do poetry, at least not in person, like with your own stuff. Not that I can recall, but watching you even at an open mic, or even at the After Dark, the song along. Yeah, there we go. That's what it was. Your presence is felt. A lot of performing, and I don't rap, I don't perform. I just like to watch performances, and I know my music, so I could just say, me, what has me engaged is the way you perform and the way your presence commands the room. You know, the facial expressions, when to change your voice. Those things are what's important when you're performing, because that's what's captivating the crowd. You know, and especially it also depends where you're going on the ticket, because like at the Poetry After Dark, like was it 1-1-1, or did you each get a piece? Like how did it go?
So Poetry After Dark was definitely, and that was my second one that I did with Mavor. Poetry After Dark was a very interesting, because we didn't have any run throughs prior. We performed that entire night strictly off of each other's energy.
Uh,
And it's like as one went, set the stage for another, the other one was like, "Thank you, my good sis," and went off. Then the next one went and then went off. So I believe I started, Nisi was in the middle, Raya kind of got us through. And now Raya, I feel like she would be the definition of what people like when they say spoken word. She's, I feel like, your best example, because she didn't come with a piece of paper, nothing. I had my phone, Nisi had her tablet for some pieces, but she was just like, "Whatever's up here, baby." And I was like, "Oh shit." And it was great. It was great because each one of us, like, we were all just jaw dropped after each person performed, because we didn't hear anybody's pieces prior. It was like we got to be part of the audience too. So that made it, and of course, a lot of it was spicy subject content. So it was
yeah.
just, the feels were in the room. It was great. It was a very fun time, and we want to bring it back where we have more cutting edge poems, more poems where people just kind of speak what's on their mind uncensored, because I feel like people could get After Dark two different ways. You can think of very risque, kind of raunchy things. You can also think of things that are kind of dark and bleak, and things that people do not want to talk about, but everybody's experienced some type of depression or anxiety in their life, hardship with families, hardship through jobs. People have been homeless. You don't even know what some of your friends have gone through
Mm-hmm.
until they speak about it. So
Absolutely.
that's how we kind of did it. It was like one after another, little intermission, one after another. Some people did a couple pieces back to back. Some people did one long piece. Some people spoke until they were like, "All right, like this is it," or said a couple lines and walked off the stage. We're like, "Yo, that's it. That's what we standing on."
Mm-hmm.
It was.
Well, sometimes when you're in the setting poetry, I think it's subjective, like music in a sense, and
Mm-hmm.
in the way of like, okay, we can do this and this, and we have this power and this. Like it doesn't have to be long as it's taught in school, because I think the way they teach it to us in school is wrong. Like, yeah, it's proper, but
Yeah, a lot.
you know, but you there's no feeling, there's no emotion. They teach you to, like, they teach you how to make a ham sandwich with nothing on it. Like that's the perfectest way to word it. You
They
know?
teach you live. They give you what they think is the most important things. Like, let's take your analogy of a ham sandwich. Yeah, I should be good off of bread and ham and just be chill. But what makes a ham, or can take it 10 times? You add a little cheese, you add some lettuce, tomato. Do you like mayo, crushed black pepper, oregano? You add in fresh herbs. Now you have something hearty that's going to take you and fill you and nourish you, and you can go on about your business. I would have got along with the ham sandwich just fine. But I feel like that's another thing about education in school. It tries to trick us to say, like, if you're not the top of the class getting straight A's, you're dumb. And that should be a very total, like, construct that they need to get rid of, because everybody is smart in their own right in different subjects. Why do you think we have different jobs? Why do you think we have different tiers of things? Nobody here is better than anybody else. This is why you're always nice to everybody. You say hi to the janitor the same way you say hi to the CEO.
I say
Your
it all the
janitor
time.
could be somebody that saves your life one day, and you were mean to them because you thought they were dumb because they picked not right. Education just goes about shit the wrong way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we got to do better with that, because, hey, not for nothing. I know some janitors that make close to six figures. Just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying.
You never know.
Like, it's like you're operating on a brain and you make 110 a year. I clean a toilet, I'm making 85. I mean, a lot less science in it. Like,
but you're good at that, and I'm sure your neurosurgeon can't unclog their own toilet. So hello.
Exactly.
It is
Exactly
what it is.
So now I want to know, sometimes we all, when we write, we experience writer's block. It's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you have writer's block, what are some of the things that you do to break it or kind of get through it?
So writer's block happens to me literally anytime I write. Like, it doesn't matter. I know it's inevitable. There's no, like, there's very rare moments where, unless I really have a thought and I can run with it and keep it going, sometimes it'll just happen out of nowhere. And if I don't get to my phone right away and I try to go back to it, done for. What I'll do is I'll write words or write whatever stanza came back to my mind and put it there. Then I might write stuff around it and then fill in my pieces later. Because, or I'll be like, oh, yeah, I don't force myself, though, to, like, get through the writer's block, though. Because sometimes some people are like, oh, just get into it and write whatever. But if I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it. That's one thing about me. If I can't create, I won't. I won't push myself to do it because I know it's going to be a crappy outcome. And that's just who I am as a person. I can gauge that emotion about myself. So I'll be like, all right, I can't write no more. Just come back to it when you're rested. Or I try to do it off of, like, a wake up. Like, I've rested a little bit. Now I'm like, all right, what do you see when you write this? Sometimes that helps me get through it. Sometimes I do it right before I sleep. Whatever thoughts I don't want to take to bed, type them out, write them out, look back at them in the morning and be like, all right, cool. Or, nah, that was trash. We ain't doing nothing with that.
But sometimes that's just a thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
is to really to navigate it. And it seems like for a lot of people I've spoken to, that writer's block seems to come at the worst possible time. Like when it's like, oh, I gotta do this or I gotta do that for this, and it's like you're like, hello, like what's going on up here?
For real. Like for After Dark, I think we had to write like 6 pieces technically. And I didn't really write a lot of my stuff until like a day or two before. And I was like, I hope this is good because I had all this time. But anytime I went to write, I had nothing to talk about. And I was like, nah, we'll go back to it later.
Well, but sometimes, weirdly enough, and maybe you could speak to this, it's not exactly the same, but like, all right, when I was in school, let's say the teacher gave an assignment and said it was due in 3 weeks. I could take my time through that 3 weeks. I could do everything top to bottom. I get like a 60. But then if like I waited till there was 2 days before and I wrote it and I feel like I did the same thing, it's like an 86. And so it's like how? Like,
Yeah.
like that that's weird. Like I take the time to do it the right way, and I get a bad grade, but I just throw it together. The grade's good. Is it maybe it's something like that for you, especially maybe when you know you have a deadline or you have to have it by a certain date?
I think the general population could probably attest to this. Something about procrastination and a time crunch, I think pushes you to push out your best work because you're like, all right, now I have no time to think of this, and I know that putting it out by this time is going to benefit or reap something. So I think it pushes your mind to like imagine more, think more, utilize more resources. Whereas if you have time, you're like, all right, I have time to clean this up. I have time to make it look pretty. I have this, I have that. And then you kind of go with it. That's definitely me in a nutshell. That's most people in this master's program. We'll get a paper and days before, everybody's like scrambling, texting each other, like, what did you write for your paper, bro? I'm like, yo, we got to present this in like 48 hours. And some people will do it in that 48 hours and hit a straight 100.
Yeah, it's just a desire or a will or hell even a gift. Like
Mm-hmm.
now, I also see a little singer in you, a little bit.
A little bit.
I've been there at open mic night, so I don't know if you've ever tuned into to me on this show, but I have a section called Honest Picks. It's a game I play, and it's and I chose R&B singers tonight.
Okay.
A couple groups, but you have an old soul. I feel like I feel like some of the older music will attest to you. So there's a few of artists from our days, but a lot of them are older artists. So I'm gonna start. James Brown or Luther Vandross.
Ooh, I love me some Lou. He the only Vandross I know. I feel like it's biased. I gotta pick. I
oh,
I love Vandross so bad,
oh
so bad.
man, God rest both of their
I
souls.
know, rest them both. Sorry, James, but Luther got it.
Smokey Robinson or Lionel Richie.
Damn. I feel like I'm more in tune with Lionel Richie music because of my mother.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with Lionel. Smokey though, that's tough, man. What are you doing? I love her.
Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles.
Woo! Double homicide. What? Oh man. I gotta go with my boy Stevie. I gotta go with my boy Stevie for real. Love that man.
Sam Cooke or Al Green.
Mm. Gotta be Sam. Gotta be Sam. Look all that.
Okay, I can respect that. Yes, change coming. That's my song.
Okay. He was born way in what?
You know,
Oh man. Come
it's
on.
been a
Come on.
long. Oh man,
Okay,
I
come on.
can't sing, but you know what? I'm gonna try.
The tune was held. It was okay.
Teddy Pendergrass or Marvin Gaye.
Come on. Oh, man. Uh, it gotta be Teddy. Teddy Penny.
Teddy,
It gotta be Teddy. I'm sorry.
Freddie Jackson or Otis Redding.
Ooh. I love me some Otis though. I love me.
Otis. Okay. I'm not mad at that. The Isleys or the Temptations.
Got stressed out. Oh. Oh nah. It gotta be the Isley brothers.
I'm stressed out.
That stressed me out bad. I love the Temptations too, but it gotta be the Isley brothers.
The Gap Band or the Spinners.
I'll stick with the bands.
The Gap Band. Okay.
Yeah. They having their little joints though. All right, go off, go off.
Tony, or Drew Hill?
Ooh, tell me what you want.
Oh, I love the cause we're not making
Okay,
love no more.
or not. What are you talking about?
Oh man, Drew, you said Drew Hill,
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
SWV or 702?
Ooh. Oh yeah. Yeah, the one we was crying to.
You know. All right, this next one's musically only. No personal bias in this one.
All right.
Chris Brown or R. Kelly?
Ooh. Ooh. Those are breezy. See, that's hard. Cause it's like low key, we grew up with both of them, but Chris Brown like is more kind of linear to our age group,
Yeah.
lyrically and the way he performed. A lot of people compare to what could have been. Because I don't like people saying he is or is similar to Michael Jackson. But Kells had that music that like it was played at family functions and got
Mm-hmm.
people together. People skated to it. Chicago two-step into it. That is tough. For for my nostalgia purposes, though, I'm gonna go. That was hard.
Okay. I have to say musically because some people be like, no, no R. Kelly. They just
Some
can't.
people can't, but I'm like, y'all be endorsing these white people that don't like y'all, and y'all still buy your brands, but whatever.
Exactly.
I'm not saying what he did was right because I refused to watch the documentary, but still,
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't watching.
nah,
No,
I don't need
no. I wasn't watching it. Michael either. You're not making me.
help.
Nope. Nope. Michael never did it. And people who say we don't have the discussion, I just shut it down.
Right, like we just let's move on.
You
He's
know?
still on my playlist. All right, bet whatever.
Word. Mary J. Blige or Mariah Carey?
Ooh. I'm gonna stick with Miss Mary. Not saying I'm gonna take anything lyrically away from Mariah because she is very talented and hits octaves like no other. But like soulful, like, you gotta go with Auntie. You gotta go with Mary. You gotta go with her.
No. You have to. You have to. All right. Oh, I wrote this artist twice with two different ones, but we're gonna go with it. Usher or Music Soul Child?
Ooh, it's Soul Child for me. I love Usher,
Mm-hmm.
but it's Soul Child. He popped out at the Roots picnic as a special,
Oh, oh
and
man.
we were like him live, and yeah, he does what he needs to do every time.
He's in my top 5 of R&B artists of all time.
Of all
Like
time, I could test that.
number 1 for me is R. Kelly. Number 2 is Chris Brown. Number 3 is probably him. And then and Donnell Jones is in there too.
We love us some Donnell, okay?
Speaking of which, now I'm going to change the next one. Jaheim or Donnell Jones?
Ooh.
Originally, I wrote Usher twice, but
Mhm. I gotta be Donnell for me. I'm old. I like the bangers. I like the bangers.
see, all right, all right. In Vogue or TLC?
Ooh. Now TLC got me through the hard times. I don't watch the Left Eye documentary like 50 billion times. I understand why woods. I want to go to the woods. Yeah,
Ugh.
that was a little easier.
Escape or Destiny's Child?
Mm. Destiny's Child. They was. I don't know. I feel like I listened to more Escape growing up than Destiny's Child. I'm familiar with more Escape songs. I will sing Destiny's Child, but
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my favorite two.
Uh-oh.
I always save these two for last. Well, actually, I'm gonna add another one. Biggie or Tupac?
Mm. Go with Tupac. But that Tupac, before a rapper, was a poet.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to, it's only right.
Okay. I can respect that. Yep. Yep. Tupac was definitely a poet.
Oh, yeah.
Whitney or Aretha?
Oh,
She left the screen.
I'm walking off. Oh man.
She
Oh,
left the screen.
oh God. Damn.
Everyone hates that one.
Damn. I remember where I was at when they said Aretha done left us and went on to glory. I was and Whitney too. Oh, damn. Nah, it gotta be wet. It gotta be wet. Oh. Oh damn. I'm
The last the last one's worse.
how we get worse than that? We pitted two bad bitches against each other already.
Michael Jackson or Prince? She looks so stressed out.
Oh. You know what, man? I'm gonna just say and keep it pushing. I'm mad.
I mean, listen, you're the you can say both if you can't pick.
I can't be both. One gotta be. I gotta have a little more. And it was always MJ. It was always him.
You are the first one to get through the whole game and not say both.
Really?
Yeah, some people listen. I had one of my friends on here, and I forget who I put against each other, but he was like, "Oh my God, I hate you right now. This is so terrible." I'm like, listen, it's part. It's all. That's the point to make it fun,
Yeah.
to make it hard. You know, I can't make it easy, and trust me, I looked for hard ones for you today.
Oh, I see. I'm over here like I'm still stuck on Whitney and Aretha. Lord.
Yeah, I saved that one for second to last, and then MJ and Prince is always last.
Because it's like lyrically they both had such like different sounds. And Michael gave us a plethora of that he tapped into and then switched up and remixed, gave us dances, albums. Prince did the same thing in his own like light and way and the way they dressed. Like people still mimic both of them in today's day and age. Like they have inspired millions.
And Prince was really a smart artist.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, like Nas was being interviewed, and they asked him, "Has anyone ever told you no for a collaboration?" And he like thought hard, like real hard, and he goes, "Yeah, actually, Prince," because Prince asked him. He said, "Do you own your masters?" And he was like, "Nah." He goes, "Then we're not doing a record. I don't want someone else making money off of our art."
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like, man, I was like, jeez, you know, and that's just what it is. You know, a lot of people like that. That's why it's hard for independent artists because, you know, someone always wants your work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to own your work and own the rights to your work as you should. It's your work.
Yeah.
You know, if I go and I buy, you know, like take this for example, I buy this Beats Pill speaker, it's mine. Well, it don't belong to no one else. It's mine. You know. So I hope you enjoyed that game,
That was fun. That was fun. I like
even though you look stressed.
yeah, no, I was stressed out. Some of them I'm like, you put some bad people together, man. Like I
You
got
like,
for real.
you like really? You gotta do me like that?
Right. I had to choose for real, for real. That's crazy.
So I also want to know, out of all, if you could pick one, might be hard. So if you have three
Mm-hmm.
pieces that you've written that you would say are your favorites, what would they be?
Of my most recent work, my top three pieces. One is called Dear Love, and I think that's my favorite piece that I've written in the past 2 years. I think both mine and whomever listens to it has had some type of similar journey. So it resonates with a lot of people when I do perform one um, to an audience. There's one that I've called Empath that I just started working on. And even though it's only a couple of stanzas, I think it's another personal piece that I'm going to enjoy writing. Even though I
Okay.
haven't finished it, but it's already in my top two. Um, I did an ode to slow jams for Poetry After Dark. That has to definitely be my third. Because there's just a lot of song references along with parts that I've written as well. So when I recited it, the crowd reaction was like, "Oh!" And then she brought up this. Like people, I think were like hoping, like, I hope she references this song. And some people
Mm-hmm.
heard it, and it was like, "Oh, she did." Some went over people's heads, and then if I repeated a part, they were like, "I'm like,
You know.
those are my top three so far."
Okay. Okay. Have you thought about ever putting together um, an album of spoken word poetry, or just poetry? Because I know you don't want it to be defined, but I,
Hmm.
me personally, real quick sidebar.
Yeah.
Sometimes people read poetry and they just read it, like, like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
But, but some people, when they do poetry, they perform it. What up, R&B? Big three talk, big 3-man talk podcast in the building. I always mess up their names. So many words. But that's my guy. We met. He found one of my reels. We met online. He's from Detroit. I've been on his show. We're working on him coming on mine. You know, it's a great thing. Great thing. He's a good dude. He was on my sports show on Monday. So yeah, but like when people, like when you do poetry, you perform it, and to me
Hmm.
that's a distinct difference.
Hmm.
So and I mean I understand you kind of like respectfully under one banner, but when people read it and perform it, it's different, because when someone
Absolutely.
reads it, it's like, all right, that was cool, it sounded good, but when someone performs it and you feel it in your soul, you're like, damn, that touched me. Like that hit that part of my body I didn't know existed.
Hmm. You're absolutely.
So with that said, have you ever thought about putting a compilation together, of some of your stuff? Because I'm sure you have the material to do it and the means to do it, you know, if you wanted to.
It's fun. After, well, during the Poetry After Dark, we had like we played a game where I'm not sure if you're familiar with our local artist GM.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's coming. He's coming on very soon. He's got a video shoot slash barbecue with Maya the Muse and Soleil next Saturday. I'm gonna be there.
Well, I wish I could be there. I'm at work,
Oh,
but yeah, I know. I only get to pop out every now and again. When I do try to make it count, but I do have to work next weekend. But yeah, so we all said our poems and he had to like pick basically which poet, like kind of won him over with their words. But he came up to us as a collective, like, yo, y'all need to do something with this. Like it was giving him vibes of like y'all gotta hit a studio. And me, Ryan, Nisi, we spoke about it later. I don't think that's kind of where we as a group were headed, but it's something that has crossed my mind because I do have friends that own studios, and I'm like, what if we just hop on and just have like some instrumentals in the back, and I'm just saying what I gotta say, make like a little EP or something like that. I don't know. It's something I may consider when I have a little more time.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people do that, and and they're considered spoken word artists. Like that's what they do. Like one of the local ones, me and her have become good friends. Lotus,
Ah,
like
girl.
she is she is like we met during Mavor Week last year, and we've been in contact. We talk pretty often, and she's really powerful in what she says too, and in things of that nature. So and I could just see it, and it'd be something. Hell, it'd be something I'd listen to. I'll tell you that. You tell me it's coming. I'm listening. Add it on Apple Music or whatever, Spotify, wherever it's gonna be. You know, but it's definitely something that I think you could have a future with doing. Honestly,
Hmm, I'll look into that. Thank you.
no, you're
Thanks for
welcome.
the re. It means one.
Of course. And as for GM, listen, here's the funny story about him. I did Mavor dodgeball last year.
Oh, yeah. I walked into like maybe the ends of that. That shit looked crazy.
Yeah, I was on the yellow team on Team Remedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like so during halftime, GM performed. I was just like, so we're playing dodgeball, and then he's down there. I'm like, this dude makes music. What the like, yo,
Play dodgeball with artists?
like,
Absolutely.
I'm like, I knew Remedy did music, and then he's down. I'm like, yo, what's going on here?
I'm weak. I'm too weak.
And then so like that's how because he popped in on my interview with Soleil. I think she was on. Was she on last week? No, I think she was on 2 weeks ago, and we were
Mm-hmm.
talking. And I was like, "Yo, man, we was on the same dodgeball team. You need to be on this show." And he goes, "Send me some dates." I'm like, "All right, cool."
Word,
you
word,
know,
word.
he's a good dude. He's a good dude. So
Mm-hmm.
now, as I get into the latter part, one other thing you do all but too well is, girl, you know how to model. Let me tell you.
Ew.
Let me tell you, Edna, girl, you modeling. You modeling. I was like, oh, okay. She did that, and she be feeling it. I'm like, okay, okay.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
you're welcome. So I need to know, when did you America's Next came from KW Media in the comments. I have to know, when did you start modeling or take an interest in it?
I want to say this is probably right before I moved to Newburgh, like 2017. My friend, I'm sure y'all remember Miss Jasmine. She also went by Blue Model Beauty, something to that degree. She was part of an agency that was doing an open casting, and I had seen her at a fashion show prior. My friend Fatima was in the show, and then that's how I kind of got in touch with Jasmine. And I just
Okay.
went. I was like, fuck it, I'll go. Let me see what's going on. And, they were like, oh, we want somebody like you on our team. You meet all of these, and I'll get into like demographics, like, oh, you're dark skin, you're a plus size girl, like this is great diversity for our team, blah 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 blah, whatever. So I started taking pictures. I was like, all right, this is cool. I was very awkward at first. I was not always like a good, like when I look back at like my first couple of prints, I'm like, wow, you didn't know what to do with your arm? Okay. like like why are you standing like that? And I don't know. That's what felt comfortable at the time. Why are you holding the shirt like that? And it took a lot of like watching and going to fashion shows, going to casting calls. I didn't really get into it until like 2018, and then that's when I started working with like local photographers and walking in some shows around here. And then by 2019, I was like, really like, all right, now I became a creative. I'm like, I want to do a shoot like this. Who's going to help me execute the vision? And so I would come up with the idea, try and work with a photographer, you know, either 50-50, like you get content and I get to work on this, or, you know, pay them whatever some they want for things that I needed, like graduation shoots. And I just kept going from there. It was a way to boost my confidence.
Right. Now that you say confidence, as a plus size woman, did you feel like you did you feel like you had low self esteem at some point? You know, or did you always knew like, nah, you weren't like that? But even still, you can never have too much confidence, right? As long as you don't become cocky, you know,
Right.
you can never have too much confidence, though.
So it's like crazy because I get mixed reviews on, am I really like a plus size person? Am I not a plus size person? I feel like more so it had to do with the fact that I am very dark skinned. And growing up, people, especially black people, which is the funniest part of it all, because I didn't really go to school with white people until I came up here.
Right.
About race, but unfortunately, systemically, we have put our own culture against each other where we feel like those that are lighter or fairer skin are better than those that are, you know, darker skin, and we're called field slaves. And I won't even get into like all the shit that I've been called.
Yes.
But I'm not any of those things. My ancestors did not die for people to be calling me names and me be crying about it. There's something that we got to do to work past that. And with that said, and of course I was bigger than most girls that I grew up with. But then I look back at those pictures and I'm like, I wasn't even like big. Like, you ever take the time, like, I called myself fat back then. I wish I was that level of fat that I think I am, because now I'm something else now. So it's like, you know, you're like, damn, this is what but that's what society does. Society is always targeting people to not love themselves, to not take a like hold of who they are, to understand that your body is this way for a reason. You could either sculpt it, do what you want with it, or just embrace who you are as a person. Me looking at those pictures when I first started, I was like, okay, like I'm wearing stuff that doesn't really flatter me. I have to now like look at things that will flatter what I look like and my shape and this and that. Once I started doing that and then taking pictures, it was not that I ever really felt bad about myself, but now I had like a means to boost myself because I was looking more at me. I'm like, why are you standing slouched over? Stand with your back straight. Oh, she looks like she's really confident, because I saw a change and I had to change that within myself.
Right.
Now it, instead of other people being critical of me, I kind of became critical of me, but not in a way to tear myself down. It's like, why do you look like that? What do you, if you dress this way, how does this make you feel? If you take pictures in this, how does this make you feel? And I kind of just took that and just kept growing my confidence and my comfort within my own skin that way, because now everybody wants to be dark and chocolate and oiled up and all that fun stuff. Everybody wants to be thicker than 3 Snickers and all that crazy shit. And I'm just like, this is stuff that y'all made fun of, and I don't have to pay a dime to get what y'all striving for.
Yeah.
But it is what.
Well, you know, and that's just it. Like, because people do that, you know, and it's like even that question I really wanted to watch how I worded it. Because even though I
Mhm.
know you wouldn't get offended, it takes one person to report it watching this back to be offended and be like,
Right.
well, he said she's plus size and she's not, and or you know, whatever. And
It's
I
all about.
think it's all, yes, yes, perception is reality.
Mhm.
And I think for us, I think people are too sensitive, way, way too sensitive. Like, even like at my job, I break a lot of barriers. Like, I tell fat jokes, skinny jokes, racial jokes. I try to make everyone feel at ease about anything, because that's just the environment. I just like a nice laughing environment. We can work and have fun, you know. We can work and have fun, but we gotta do better at balancing each other out, because people are sensitive, people are upset, people are angry over what? What are we
Mhm.
upset about? What happened to laughter? Like yeah, certain things aren't funny, but like sometimes the the gift of laughter can help break what isn't funny. You know, revert the attention or the situation to something else. You know, and excuse me, people don't do that anymore.
Nah,
They don't. They just get offended and just say, "Oh, well, he said that, so let's cancel him," or "He did that, so let's cancel him." You know, she did that. She's not cool anymore. Things of that nature. But be that as it may, you said that pretty much just didn't come natural to you.
mm-mm.
Because I said, did it? I have here, did it come natural? Or did it take work? You've answered that. But what was the hardest part? Because let me tell you, watching models and you know, two things that I would say. I I've never modeled. This is just perception, right? For me, my reality. You tell me. One is when you're modeling to music, and like even I look at walks as like when two models come this way, right? They look at
Mm-hmm.
each other and they look at the crowd and then they go. It's all about the cues, right? And the timing. Because if knowing that music or whoever's cueing you, that's the one thing. And then knowing how to coordinate with that person so you're walking the same time that they're walking step by step. You do your flash, you turn, your tilt, and even the timing of the turns and then walking back. If you're and that's in the scene of a modeling show, right? But if you're taking still photos or pictures, like you were saying, why were you slouched over? It's got to be hard to hold your body in like a still position, like because like you're like me. I do photography, so if I'm taking a picture, and you're my subject, I at least want to get 6 to 10 photos, in hopes that I got one good one. Typically,
Mm-hmm.
typically I'll get two, but you hope to at least get one. But holding your body in a very hard, uncomfortable, sometimes painful position has to be difficult. Am I on the right track here, or what's some other things that could be difficult that I don't know because I'm not a model?
So yeah, because I'm on kind of both sides of it. Because sometimes I do take pictures of other models, but then because I have the modeling background, I understand what they're doing or where their headspace is at. So some of our like kind of one-on-ones of like runway, which is the walking aspect, but the point is you're showcasing whatever you're wearing. So we have to kind of be cognizant or aware of if there's a certain label stitching somewhere, what are we trying to show off? Then we also have what we call counts. So there's a lot of things you have to be conscious of, and you're thinking about this all at the same time if you're doing runway. If you're walking with somebody, you know are you guys on the same beat? Are you walking on the same foot? You have to realize she has longer legs than this one, so that means she has to slow her pace and she has to pick it up. Or somebody's in heels, somebody's flat-footed. It just kind of all depends. Sometimes we'll pair people with people to see if it works. Sometimes it's just on the fly and people just kind of vibe off each other's energy and know what to do. In regard to posing for pictures on the runway, again, we have to do some type of count. So if we're in a position, we try to stay in that position for at least a count of three. Oh, that's four. I'm very tired. I think I wanted to put this, and then the pinky said we're also having fun. So like three. Because the point is, you need to get a picture. If I'm moving in seconds at a time, not only are you not going to get a picture, you're going to get a bunch of movements of me not in the spot that you want me. It's like, oh, well, she covered the logo because she was getting to a spot. But if you see a model stand and hold, as a photographer, that is your time to get that picture of them. When you start to see them move, sometimes we're coached not to move that fast into the next position. You can catch burst photos that way until they settle into that next position. Depending on who coached, and we have a plethora of model coaches that worked in the area. Like I said, my girl Jasmine Williams, Blue Model Coaching, Amber, that's also in the area. We had like a bunch of people come in and work with us, at the Newburgh Illuminateds and things like that. J like the letter. Every single one of them, they teach you like you have to be aware of where the camera is and what your body orientation is like. That also involves you kind of being comfortable. How far are you willing to take a pose? Are you one of those ones like Vanessa who can bend backwards and hold herself in heels? Do you understand what your body mechanics are? If you can't do that, I don't suggest the day of the show is the day to try that shit. You got to practice that like anybody else.
Yeah, yeah. That and it's kind of weird. This is kind of a weird comparison, but like when I started working at Nabisco, I started. I'm in the warehouse. I'm still there. I haven't gone back to driving. But one thing that killed me was learning how to build the pallets because it's a lot of up and down on your back. For
Mm-hmm.
the first month, my back, I was ready to quit because my back hurt so bad from not
Mm-hmm.
being used to that work. And it's kind of like the same thing because if your body's not used to motioning or going in that direction, you're going to be in a world of hurt. You're going to be in a world of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's definitely, it's definitely, um, it's definitely difficult. A lot of physical, like you really have to use everything, physical, mental, like there's a lot that goes into it more than people think, you
Yeah.
know, and then especially like if you're on a schedule, because like if you're doing a show and you got to model, let's say 4 or 5 outfits, your turnaround time, but yet there's 12 models, your turnaround time is like, okay, once you get on back into the room, you got 7 minutes to get into the next one, or 4 minutes to get into the next one, and then you got to go back out there. We got to line back up. Like, there's a lot going on, and you have to be able to compartmentalize each of these things in order to make the show go smooth.
Exactly.
You know, and people don't see it. Like when people put on a show, there's a lot that goes on to get that show going, to get it going, and to get it to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of behind the scenes work too.
Sure.
So, do you have a favorite shoot or a favorite show that you have done?
I don't really think I have a favorite show. And my reason for that is I'm thankful for all opportunities that were given to me to like work in these shows or walk in them. But I just felt like it was very hard to only like walk for one person each show or depending on where. It was like again, and that kind of falls in the category of, you know, being a model that is plus size, wears bigger sizes. Some people don't have stuff that caters to my body type. So that's
Yeah.
not their fault as a designer. But if your show predominantly has things that I cannot wear or showcase or whatever, but you have me coming in because you want me as a model, it just seemed like it wasn't really worth the struggle and the time out of my schedule to really keep going to those type of castings and shows. So shows are kind of behind me, and I've become more of a creative with my photo shoots. I'd have to say I'll give you like my top three favorite shoots. My first real top one was with Tylon. He works in Newburgh. We did a
My,
shoot.
it's my guy.
I'm telling you, he knows. We did a shoot in a sunflower field.
Uh, were you wearing yellow?
Yep, I was wearing. I myself was a sunflower.
See, see, I remember.
I felt like I was in America's Next Top Model, where like Tyra Banks had them doing crazy shit for these shots. Like I was screaming because there was a lot of bumblebees in the sunflower field, and at one point I got behind like one sunflower, and they were like flying all over the place, and I'm like ah, like like really like get it out, but then you go for the shot, and then like the shots in between were hilarious. But I'm like, wow, we really got like some good shoots out of that. My next favorite one was with my other local photographer, Sabrina. She runs Hudson Valley Charm.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I follow her on Instagram. Yep.
yeah, I'm stuck between. We did like a shoot called Fluid Bodies or something to that degree, where I appear to be nude, but I'm not. I'm wearing clothes underneath, but I'm underneath like brown draped fabric, and it was a very sensual very open type of shoot. Kind of giving that illusion that I'm not wearing anything was pretty cool. What made it even funnier was that it was during a time where her studio was open. So people are like touring that big building that where is it, Atlas Studios, to see different workshops. So people were like walking past as we were doing the shoot and they're like, "What's going on in there?" And I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Because they think you have no clothes on.
Right. And they're like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is a project."
Yeah, they're just like why?
Right.
What?
Some of them, and then some of them were just like, and just kept walking. That was the fun one. Then my last favorite one, I think, was one of my graduation shoots. I think for my BSN, I shot with a friend, Tony Sarcone in Poughkeepsie. And I got to do like some action shots, like shots of me like jumping in the air, throwing my cap and gown. Like that was a fun time.
Okay. So you definitely enjoy the modeling.
Yes, for sure.
Is it something you think you would ever do full time? As your poetry, do you think you would take either one of those on full time at any point? Because listen, I know you put in work with these degrees, and you said your heart wasn't always there. You appreciate your work, but you know, is where your heart is seems to be where your talent is. That's all I'm saying.
Mm.
Would you ever take either full time?
You know, I feel like because these are things I enjoy, especially for leisure, for those reasons, I shouldn't take them full time. I want to be able to still enjoy it and I want to still have the passion and the heart to do it. Now, if I did it full time and it made me money, cool, but then I feel like I would start to lose a joy from it.
Because it would become
It
a job.
becomes a job.
And once it's a job,
Kind of like,
it's no longer fun.
exactly. Exactly.
Hmm. It's an interesting outlook. Something. Wow, never thought of it like that.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Would it be cool? Absolutely. But run into these blocks. Now I can't. I don't know what to do photo shoots of. I don't know what to write anymore. I don't know this. And now, if it's contingent of me trying to make a living, I'm in trouble because I'm like, if I don't got it, I don't got it. Now what
Right.
do I do after that? Where it's like, I could take a break from it, get back into it a little bit, and still do what I do on the side of helping people with nursing and becoming a practitioner. So I feel like things happen for a reason. You find your interest for a reason. You find things that you love, and they become the things that you love, but they don't become your job. They're the hobby. They're the thing that you do to de-stress. You don't want to take that joy away from those things.
Okay. That's actually very interesting that you say that. Something I think I needed to hear. That's definitely an outlook because sometimes, and it depends. Like everyone's different. Like if you play sport, love the game, that's cool. Because trust and believe, if someone watched this podcast and said we're gonna offer you $1 million, best believe we're gonna have a conversation. best believe, best believe we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna have a conversation about it. So when you're doing these modeling shoots, what kind of preparation is there? And like for models that model full time, I know like they have to do like there's certain dieting and exercises. Obviously, you don't have to do any of that. But what kind of preparation do you have when you're doing a modeling shoot, or whether it's a show? Well, you said you don't really do shows, but what if you're about to do a shoot? Like, what's some of the things you go through to get ready?
First, I make sure whatever I'm going to shoot in, I'm comfortable. It gives the look of what I'm trying to portray. So, like, sometimes I'll do a test run. I'll try something on. I'm like, do I want to wear shapewear with this? Do I not want shapewear? Just make sure the outfit is set to the side. I'm straying away from like using makeup in too many things now. Sometimes I'll do like a dramatic eye, if anything. So just make sure you have stuff to touch that up. The biggest thing for me is skin preparation. Like I'll exfoliate my skin, make sure I'm well hydrated. Um, and well moisturized before any shoots. You're fresh. I don't like doing shoots after I've gone somewhere. Some people are like, oh, just pull up. It's fine. I'm like, nah, because then it's just going to present a different way. Like, you know, you want to be smelling good. You want to be feeling good. You want to be refreshed. Also, I have to make sure that I sleep. If I wake up for a day of a shoot and I feel like I haven't slept, I'll cancel it. Because I'm like, I'm not going to look good in these pictures. There's no amount of touching up or whatever you could do. I know that I'm going to be like, I look tired. I don't
Right.
have the energy to say what I want to convey in this shoot. So I got to make sure, like, first of all, my mental's cool. If my mental's not good, I'm not shooting.
And you shouldn't. You
Sure.
shouldn't, because it's even like sometimes you just have to really, like, you have to be in the mindset to do what you're doing. You have
Mm-hmm.
not like going to work where
Exactly.
okay, this is your job, this is how you make your living, this is how you make your money. Whatever's going on, you have to kind of put it back here, push forward, put on the smile, even if it ain't real, and do your job, right? However, when you're doing these kinds of things, you have to really, everything has to be right. You can't not have your mental state, or have your physical state be compromised.
Right.
If you're sick, you ain't gonna go. If you're tired, you ain't gonna go. Because if you're tired, prime example, if they're telling you have to sit with your back hunched, chest out, one leg over the other, and kind of like this, let's say, if you're tired, you're not gonna feel that. You're not gonna be able to maintain it the same way. So I can definitely understand that. I have two more questions for you. What's next for you? I know you're working on your fourth degree right now. But what are some other things that are next for you in terms of anything, whether it's modeling, whether it's poetry, maybe it's another endeavor you have figured out that you can do. What's next?
Hmm. I feel like once I've really completed school and passed this next set of boards, the big project that I kind of put to the side for some time. People have been patiently waiting for me to kind of pick that back up. And again, I did it at a time where my life was different. My drive for it was different. Was my business,
Yeah.
Queen Mother Creations, get by E, because I was everybody's lead lady. Yeah, people, you're the bead lady. I'm like, that's what y'all calling me in these streets?
Bead
All right.
lady.
Yeah, I was the one with the beads. I was always making necklaces, bracelets, and all that stuff. Slowly, I've been doing it to help with stress, and I'm creating and putting things to the side so that when I do get to relaunch, I have a whole bunch of inventory. Nobody's waiting for anything, and I'll just have at it the way that I want. I think that's what's on the rise of things for me to do.
That's a great thing. I was actually, and I meant to write that down. I did see beads in like your earlier post, and it's another form of art, another form of expression. Um, and it's something that that your vision of, a vision for yourself, So with that, quickly, I want to know how did you come up with that concept of that, and what made because you said you're an artist. People don't know that, right? Was that something that you added to the repertoire with the paintings and the drawings, and you kind of just stumbled on it?
So, as some people may or may not know, just very quickly, the where waist beads originated from is from Africa. The reason why waist beads are so important to the culture, especially like amongst with women, both young and old, women were kind of given these waist beads as like when they came of age to be cognizant of the changes that their body is going through with their curvature and things of that nature, and understand that at this point people are looking at you to, be a wife, be a mother, and they're going to try and court you. What I thought was pretty cool, and this is what my mom and my grandmother taught me when I was young. So I used to do it when I was younger,
Right.
and then I just stopped. I picked it back up because, unfortunately, my grandmother's passed, and I wanted a way to kind of cope with their passing. And I was like, maybe I'll just make some beads for myself. And then somebody asked me randomly, hey, do you make waist beads? And I was like, I mean, I could make you a set. I made her a set, and then she told somebody, and then that person then came to me. Now I was in the midst of nursing school. I had just started. So I wasn't working that much. I was like borderline unemployment. I was on Medicaid. I was like at the bottom of bottoms. I was in a very depressive state. Like it was a hard time getting through that program.
Right.
People just were like, hey, do you make this? I want like some before vacation. And at the time I was very fast. Again, I wasn't really looking into too much into it. Had cheap materials and cheap beads and all this other stuff. So I would make them up pretty fast, and people would want sets, and I'm like, how much of it? What do you want for it? And I'm like, I don't know. So it was something also that kept me calm during nursing school, because something about that repetitive nature of putting a bead on a string and just creating color combinations and stuff, it helped me to keep information in my head versus if I'm constantly thinking about information, it wasn't going anywhere it's supposed to. So it kind of became, in a sense, a business, because then it was making me good money while I wasn't working that much.
Right.
In it was something I could do at home. It was portable. I started doing shows, bringing it to different states, Jersey, Connecticut, selling beads, because people were like, oh, she does this. This is what she does. And then it was popping for like 2 years. And I became a nurse, and I was like, all right, I work night shift now and I have no time to sleep. So I'll do it here and there. I still do orders as people try to ask, but now I have better materials, better beads. I look into stuff that's durable. And again, it's a matter of creating things when I'm in a good state. If I'm good, I'm not going to create, because then that over to somebody else. That's how I take it. I'm not
Wow.
just for the sake of the dollar. I'm making it because when I wear my beads, I feel good. I want to instill confidence into people to understand that maybe you don't have the smallest waist, but these beads or whatever they do, if they're your favorite color, you want stones on them to represent beauty and grace and whatever you believe in. If this product for me is going to help you, it should be made with good intentions and good energy. So
Mm.
that's what I'm
Mm. Can't say nothing more than that. So before I get to the last portion, if anyone who's watching this or watches this back wants to find you where they can see your modeling or hear your poetry, where can they find you?
Y'all can find me here on Instagram at AND, that's Edna backwards, BABI 94. You can also find me on Facebook, Edna Aboague, Aboage. That's pretty much where I put a lot of my content, where I share it like family and friends. Um, my Instagram page for my beads is get wasted underscore by underscore e. It may change in the near.
Okay. Okay. And as like I said, I don't know if you watched before, but I end every episode with a positive ending message. That's where you say anything to who's watching or who will watch this back that'll enlighten them and lift up their spirits, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, to my message to the people out there, remember that your biggest enemy is yourself. You're going to be self-critical to yourself. You're going to be very hard on yourself. And the message that I want y'all to leave here is to learn to give yourself grace. We are in a tough world where this generation especially has been kind of put at a disadvantage. We compare ourselves to where our parents were at our ages. We compare ourselves to where our friends are at, and we like to kind of deem ourselves inadequate or less than. Just give yourself the grace of, being able to just get up in the morning, because that's more than half the battle for a lot of us out there. Give yourself the grace that you're waking up and going to your job. You're waking up, you're taking care of your kids. You're waking up to take care of other people. Give yourself the grace that you're doing the best that you can. And success looks like it's this straight upward path, but success has dips. Success has depths deeper than you can imagine. Success has depression and anxiety, but you have the tools to work your way out of those dips and depressions and all of those other things. But you have to give yourself grace. You have to be kind to yourselves. Be nice to yourself. Tell yourself one good thing every day in the mirror. That's my message.
Can't say it any better than that. Edna, thank you so much for coming on. Even though you're retired, having a conversation, because I know you probably just worked like a 12 or 14-hour shift. And I'm sure you have to do it again tomorrow. I hope you don't. Yeah,
I
unfortunately.
yeah.
You said what? Oh, no.
Yeah, that's
No. Well,
right though. That's cool though. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
of course, of course. So follow her. She's a wonderful person, an even better person, even better in person, I might add. So next week we're going to episode 19. Episode
Wow.
19 of Honest Hour, and I will have on Rappin' Frizzy, local rapper. He don't look like a rapper, but he's a rapper. He has a
He don't.
band. She said he don't.
He
He's
don't. But
going.
I just posted him. I think on my story.
He don't look like no rapper. We gonna have
He.
him on.
Yeah. I'm gonna tune in for that.
I appreciate it. We'll have him on. But next week is the 4th of July. I'm not coming on Thursday. We're coming on Wednesday. We're
All
coming
right.
on Wednesday. That's 7/3, 8 p.m. on IG Live. We'll be here to talk about him, his music, his tour he's got going on, a show he's opening up for. It's going to be great. Thank you again, Edna. Everyone have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.